Just yesterday, a young person asked me, when I was telling her about the stories of what I've been through, and especially my family, and she was asking me, do you ever doubt, do you ever blame God for any of these? Do you at some time, say, God, or even question God, if God is there, or if God really loves you, if you've been through all this and your family has been through all this? And I said to her that maybe at the moments things happen to us, it's very easy to doubt God. There are moments that I question God myself. I say, if you really love me, why will you allow this to happen? And why will you allow this other thing to happen? If this one is not enough, why will you allow a third one to happen? And I said to her, maybe at the moments, there were moments that I felt like that. But with time, even in my priesthood and how those events have turned out to be, not that they were good in themselves, but it has made me to really understand when people go through difficulties, because I've been through them myself. It makes me to understand when people go through a very tough time of grief, because I've been through it myself. And like St. Paul says, everything works for good for those who believe in Christ Jesus. And in fact, we would expect, this is what happens in our lives, in our ordinary lives, that if somebody loves you, then you would try to offer good things to you. You would try to make sure that you have a painless life, that you have a very comfortable life. But the gospel of today already shows us, and also the story of Stephen tells us that it does not really work like that with God. Imagine, these people have sacrificed everything. They have sacrificed their families. They are going off after this Messiah who is supposed to save them and liberate them and make life comfortable for them. And he's sending them with these words. He tells them, you'll be arrested, you'll be scourged, you'll be brought by governors, you'll be tortured. Every other bad thing is going to happen. In fact, in this, he does not say anything about you're going to have some rewards, you're going to be comfortable or anything. No, he says, even at the end, he says, it's only those who are going to endure that will be saved. This salvation we do not even know whether it's going to be freedom or whatever. In that context, they do not even know what it means. In fact, they were thinking the salvation would be salvation from the hands of the Romans. That was it. So Jesus says at the end, it's only those who are going to endure. So therefore, what does this tell us about life? That when we become followers of Christ, we are not we are not going for a comfortable life. I mean, when things happen, we should not be shocked at them. We should look at just one day after the great rejoicing and Jesus is born, salvation has come. The next day we have the feast day of somebody who was stoned to death, St. Stephen. It tells us something about the fact that we rejoice in Bethlehem, in Jesus who is now born, but we must realize that in that salvation is the cross. In that rejoicing is our Christian cross. In that birth of Christ, in the Jesus that we see, who is the source of everything, our Messiah, is the difficulties that we will encounter, not for his own sake, that is where the difference lies, not for his own sake, but for the sake of something greater, for which we were created, to be happy with him one day in heaven. And therefore he says, you must be witnesses before all men. And being a witness is not just going to be to preach or to talk about life or to talk about Jesus. It's actually to give our lives for the sake of the kingdom. Therefore, when things come across our lives, it's not a time to complain. It's not a time to say, God has forgotten me. It's not a time to say, God does not listen to our prayers. In fact, he listens to our prayers, and he has given us the privilege to be able to go through what we go through for the sake of his kingdom. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 12 says that we rejoice to the extent that we share in the sufferings of Christ, that when His salvation comes, we will receive the reward that He has promised to each and every one of us. And to tell you the truth, to be a Christian is not an easy thing, because it does not just mean sacrifice, but also you're not going to get a positive feedback. I mean, when you stand now, especially even in the world that we live today, when you stand to hold on to the Christian morals and values, the world is not ready to receive that. The world has its own morality, it has its own values that is becoming more and more popular. And therefore, as becoming more and more popular, we are becoming more and more unpopular as well, because the world is not ready to stand and to just listen to what we say, or to witness, or to say yes to what we stand for. My dear brothers and sisters, the martyrdom of St. Stephen is a great lesson for us, that we must be ready at every moment to stand for Jesus in and out of season. It does not mean that when we go through suffering, God has forgotten us. No, in fact, God is with us in moments of suffering. And that's why Jesus Himself had to suffer, to teach us on how to be truly human, how to be truly a messenger and a disciple of God. So my dear brothers and sisters, as we go through this day, as we go through the period of Christmas, we know also that today we are celebrating the feast day of St. Stephen, his martyrdom. 2 days from now, we'll be celebrating also the Holy Innocents, the children who died also for the sake of Jesus. So why is it red, red? Sorry, I'm wearing white today. Why is it red, red all the time? It's because of the martyrdom of the fact that we receive Jesus is also the same thing as accepting the cross of following Him. And therefore, let us ask through the intercession of Saint Stephen that we may be truly messengers of Jesus, that we may truly increase in our faith and love of God.